Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure to like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So the midterms are actually, I think, less than 11 months away. So we're getting ready. I just did my last 2024 prediction for a while because I think it's important that we focus on what is in front of us instead of what is far in the future. Who knows what's going to happen in 2 or 3 years, right? So I want to focus on the midterms. And the first primary, one of the first primaries that's going to be coming up is in the Texas gubernatorial election. In fact, the primary is March 1st. And this is for all of Texas, but I wanted to focus on the gubernatorial election because it is the biggest election statewide. Obviously, there's the Attorney General's election, there are the House elections, and some of those primaries are going to be increasingly important for sure. But still, what I have to say is that I think it's important to focus on this opportunity because somebody like Greg Abbott, who has been insufficient in his gubernatorial run so far, is being primaried. And I think it's a good thing even if it is a long shot, because even if the primary is unsuccessful, it will push Greg Abbott to the right on some issues. That's why he signed some controversial legislation so far this year. You absolutely love to see it. He's starting to use power for good in a Ron DeSantis-style capacity, which is good, but still I don't really trust the guy. I'm afraid that if he gets in there for 4 more years, it's going to be the same old, same old. So I want to get into all of this, but first we have to go product mode. And the first product is going to be a shameless plug, redeaglepolitics.com. If you want to join the Discord, if you want to vote on video ideas, you want to call into the call-in shows, read the newsletter, etc., join the membership club. $5 a month is 16 cents a day. 16 cents a day, you could get exclusive videos per month, and the Discord is back as well. So just a heads up, make sure you join the website. Link is in the description down below. But also, would not be a complete video if I didn't tell you about my very good friends over at Noble Gold. Now, something's not adding up, right? I mean, stocks are at record highs, but the government just borrowed $5 trillion. Inflation is transitory, went up to 6.8%. How much did your wages go up? Probably not that much. Gas and electricity bills increasing. A precious metals IRA with Noble Gold will help you avoid the worst of this. And this month, Noble Gold is giving away a free America the Beautiful solid silver 5-ounce coin with any qualifying plan you start. So start by calling 877-646-5347 or visit our website at noblegoldinvestments.com. So Greg Abbott is up for re-election, and this time he's actually facing some steep primary challengers. If you want to look back to 2018 and you want to look back to the Republican primary for governor here, I mean, Greg Abbott, he had like very minimal competition, and he won with over 90% of the vote. And now things are changing a little bit here as we move on to 2022, because you talk about a lot of people criticizing Greg Abbott's record. No, this has nothing to do with the whole weather grid. The left is going to say, well, he's going to win by a narrow margin because of the weather grid, even though he had high marks in the approval polls for the weather grid thing after it took place. That's not in people's minds right now. But what is, when it comes to the Republican primary, is Greg Abbott cozying up to big tech. And it's also Greg Abbott and his handling of the border crisis. Not as strong as it possibly could be, and you have people like Don Huffines that will say that he'll do anything in his power to go out there and build the wall, even if it might not exactly be constitutional for a state to do that. He's essentially going to push the boundaries, do everything he possibly can to fight back against the Biden administration and their incompetence, and coordinate with ICE and other organizations, etc., to make sure that this crisis stops, because it's out of hand. It's ridiculous. You look at these charts. I mean, it is insane, the migrant encounters. You saw the surge that happened in 2019. It was fairly high. I mean, Trump took some heat even from the right for that, but it went down. And then you see Biden take office. He told people, it was on June 27th, 2019, a very historic day, I guess you could say. And he went out there in the debate stage and he said that, you know, you can come on to the border. Well, we'll take you guys in. He says, you know, it's inhumane and racist what Trump is doing with Remain in Mexico. And now he's like starting to enforce that. But you see what's going on with the border. I mean, these charts are insane. This is Pew Research, by the way, not exactly a right-leaning source to put it the least, but the encounters are through the roof. I mean, you see this. It's not even Mexico. It's like from South and Central America. I mean, Haiti. How did the Haitians get to Texas? Did they like swim across the ocean or something? I mean, it's ridiculous what's happening there when it comes down to the issue of the southern border, because it wasn't even like the Haitians were coming through like Florida like the Cubans typically do on their rafts or boats. They came through Texas, which also begs the question, who's funding this? Because do you really think that these people like took a boat directly to Texas to get in that way? Yeah, I think something else went on. But you look at these charts, the border crisis is real. It's out of control. And you have big tech is out of control. Texas, Silicon Hills is what they call it now. I didn't even know this Wikipedia page existed, but you talk about all these tech headquarters that are coming to the Austin area. I actually got in an argument on Twitter. I think it was with Nuance Bro, and I like Nuance Bro. We sparred about this a little bit, talking about the big tech companies that are just pouring into Texas. And I think we agreed on one point, that if these companies are going to be pouring in, you're going to have to sign legislation to make these people's lives hell for people on the left. And I actually commend Abbott for doing so with the abortion bill. But still, that is also derivative of the fact that he has a primary challenger. And even so, I don't believe that we need to be pouring these companies into Texas either way. I think what they're doing is they're changing the industry. They're bringing a lot of people regardless to Texas. And I don't believe it's a good thing, especially when you look at a place like DFW in Collin County. Then you have massive H-1B visa workers that are pouring in from South Asia, as well as the fact that you have a lot of people from the West Coast, whether if it's California or the Pacific Northwest up in Seattle, these liberals that are pouring into a place like Austin or the surrounding areas that are changing the electorate in places like there as well. I mean, both immigration and the change of industry are both causing Texas to shift to the left, just as they did in the state of California. I think that Texas is not necessarily going to go down the pathway of California, at least not anytime soon. And there are very complicated electoral trends in the state of Texas. There is a good deal of nuance to them when you look at the big picture, especially when it comes to things like South Texas or potential suburban reversion, because the potential is there. So I don't think that Republicans necessarily are going to be doomed as quickly as people think. But if you keep pouring people in, they will be doomed. They're not going to be able to win an election without the state of Texas unless they like flip the Northeast or the Pacific Northwest, and that's unlikely to happen given the liberal social values that are held by those voters and the fact that a lot of those voters lack religion as well. So Texas is the bulwark. We need to support Texas, and there's the Republican primary here. So you have Greg Abbott. He's going up against Huffines, Prather, and West. Prather is a Blaze TV host. Huffines is a state senator and owner of the Huffines car dealership thing. And then you have Alan West, who some people may say he's a carpetbagger because he was a representative in the state of Florida, but now he's in Texas. But either way, he did a fairly good job as Texas GOP chair compared to a lot of other potential GOP chairs. I mean, he signed on to that lawsuit that essentially would have had Texas like leave the union, which is pretty based, and the lawsuit for the 2020 election as well that unsurprisingly failed in the Supreme Court. But beyond that point, you have challengers to Greg Abbott, all of which are better than Greg Abbott. I support Huffines, but if Prather or West come in second place in the primary, then they will force a runoff, and I would support them as well. And this is another thing to keep note, because people will say, well, they're splitting the vote. They're not, because there's runoffs, which is a good thing, by the way. And you look at this right here, and you see the fact that Greg Abbott is not doing so hot in the polls compared to where he was. I mean, he just needs to get below 50% to force that runoff. UT Tyler, he's gone from 77 to 65. And there is time for that to change. There is time for that to go down as people like West, Prather, and Huffines get their name ID up there higher. They're going to be able to do better in the primary, and if they each get, I guess you would say, an average of 17% of the vote, then Abbott would be in serious trouble. And you're seeing this within the YouGov polls. He went from 61 to 56. Polling is volatile, and obviously Abbott is the favorite. But either way, I think there is room for this to change. I think that it is possible that he could be forced into a runoff. But at the same time, even if he does win, it's going to put a lot more pressure on him than he originally did before. So I would encourage people to vote for somebody other than Greg Abbott in the Texas Republican primary, preferably Don Huffines, but really some people prefer West or Prather, and they can vote for them as well. It just matters that you force Abbott to a runoff, and hopefully you can take him down there. But even if you don't take him down, pushing him to the right is effective. It is an effective strategy. It will force him to be more friendly and incentivize other types of industry. We talk about industry. Big tech's not the only industry in the world, by the way, that can come to Texas. Let's be honest here. Obviously, there's other ways you can create jobs. They're not going to Florida. Florida's still creating jobs, right? And also, he will likely sign legislation along the lines of what he signed earlier this year. I think there were like 13 bills right when the primary season got underway. But either way, this guy is still not somebody I trust. You'll have a lot of people saying, well, Greg Abbott's actually okay or whatever. Oh, he's a solid governor. Seriously? I mean, the guy is literally Pete Wilson light in a wheelchair. Okay, especially if Texas does end up going permanently blue within like a decade or two, which again may not happen, but at this rate, it might, depending on questions surrounding several trends of suburban and Hispanic demographics and things like immigration, then Greg Abbott will have overseen the fall and the decline of the state of Texas. And you're seeing this right now at the border. He's not taking action. Even if he tried to take action and he failed, at least he'd be doing something, right? At least he'd be trying to stop the bleeding, and he's not doing that. So hopefully he gets primaried out of there. Is it a long shot? Yes, but it is also possible. And if this YouGov poll is right, and he's only at 56% right now, and that's also the poll with the largest sample size, too. If he's really at 56%, registered voters, maybe likely voters, it would get even narrow. If he just falls 6%, it's game over in terms of his ability to win in the first round. So it's going to be fun to see what happens next year, but I'm going to be out here on the front lines of some of these primaries, getting the most America First style candidates and getting these establishmentarian people out like Greg Abbott and replacing them with people who at least will try to make an effort, right? At least try. Somebody like Don Huffines, who goes on Tucker and stands up to Greg Abbott on the issue of mass immigration, particularly the border crisis that's happening right now. So we'll have to see what happens. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Please like this video down below, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description. Also, join the website, become a member to get those benefits. So, as always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.